Um, Hi everyone, I am Tara, aka Spirit Mother, and I would like to welcome you all back to my channel on YouTube, Spirit Teachers and Going With Itself, on TikTok, 1974 Enlightened Soul. I'm also live on my Facebook. If you're new to my channel, I always recommend, suggest, and I really encourage you to read the description on my YouTube channel so you can get a better understanding of what it is that I do. Some of you are well aware of what I bring to my channel, and some are new to it, and some just, you know, I talk about politics, the system, because I watch what people are putting out, and I use my own life experiences as a way to convey certain things. Okay, now it's going to be a tricky topic, okay, because it's about what Donald Trump said regarding tylenol. Okay, I mean it was on the news because I see it was there this morning on the national. And it said that the pharmaceutical companies or what have you, like they researched it and nothing like that or what have you. And okay, think of it this way: the pharmaceutical companies are trying to make money. I looked it up, and on Tylenol alone, you probably about yearly they make about $130 million a year on Tylenol. Okay, I'm not here to debate with anybody. I'm just putting forward my findings. And I looked up a few things to find out like what was in Tylenol, which was pretty interesting. There was another name for it's something with in regards to Tylenol is, and it said about that molecules derived from fossil fuels, and then it said they're trying to learn how to make it from plastic. Okay, aren't we trying to get plastic out of our body? Is fossil fuels not environmental? So people will say, well, Robert Kennedy don't know what he's talking about. Well, okay. He's an environmental lawyer, so he has to look into things. Okay. Now, people are going to hate me for this. They're going to dislike me. You're going to cuss me. You're going to do whatever you want to do. But hey, my question is, when this stuff is brought out or brought up or told to you or what have you, do you just say that misinformation or do you actually do a little digging yourself to find out whether he is always fucking right out there delusional, as people say? Like, I don't agree with everything that Donald Trump does or says because some of his shit is right out there, but some of it is bang on. The stuff about immigration, no, it's not bang on. Stuff with regards to putting people against one another, no, it's not bang on. But see, when I heard that, like, okay, I always knew because I stopped taking medication. I stopped taking pills because then they're not. You look at the side effects of them, and holy shit, man, the side effects are where the side effects from the pills are most of the time worse than what the freaking side effects would be. Had you not taken it, okay, and a lot of people will run for the flu. Okay, now we're going to also check some other things of more natural pain relief, right? Because, on one Tylenol making $130 million, that is downright ridiculous. That's just one drug. And you think that the pharmaceutical company is going to tell you, no, it does not do this or that. But I looked into it because it was like, finding out the information because, the news puts like 2 minutes, what have you on the system. And like, that's what people go. Okay. So right here, when I looked up, what is acetaminophen made out of? Paracetamol, also known as acetaminophen, is widely used to treat pain and fever. It was produced from molecules derived from fossil fuels. I looked into that because, it's already out there. Researchers are working to develop processes that use more sustainable source molecules, such as plastic waste. How many of you knew that? Oh yeah, it's true. Because I looked into it. McDonald's, I think that's Donald's favorite food. But hey, maybe that's a sign. So let's go get this information. So I could win. Oh, because it's red food. So let's go with regards to that fossil fuel thing. Okay? Because I know Donald Trump said about because of ADHD and autism, what have you. No, I mean, it does say, like, when you look it up yourself, it does say it causes neurological disorders. But hey, let's go into one that says on Wisconsin Energy Institute. I know, fucked up place to look, right? Biofuel researchers develop a better way to make painkiller from trees. Process could make plant-based fuels more cost effective. And it's not putting fossil fuels from, we'll get to that. Scientists at the University of Wisconsin-Madison have developed a cost-effective and environmentally sustainable way to make a popular pain reliever and overvaluable products from plants instead of petroleum. Petroleum is fossil fuel, when you cut your gas and your coal and everything like that. Petroleum. Building on a previously planted method or patented method for producing paracetamol, the active ingredient in tylenol. That's why you don't think that it's Tylenol, but this is the active ingredient. The discovery promises not only a greener path to one of the world's most widely used medicines and other chemicals, but also a new revenue stream to make cellulose phosphate, cellulosic, biofuels. Can't pronounce that word, but you know, didn't say it could be made from non-food plant fibers, cost competitive with fossil fuels, the primary driver of climate change. We did the R&D to scale it and make it realizable. The staff scientist at Great Lakes Bioenergy Research Center and led author of the paper published in the journal ChemSysChem, ChemSuschem. Petroleum however you pronounce it, look it up, natural ingredient in known in the U.S. as acetaminophen, is one of the most widely pharmaceuticals with a global market value of about $113 million. Since it was introduced in the early 1900s, this was after 1955, the drug has traditionally been made from derivatives of coal, tar, or petroleum. Hear that? The drug has traditionally been made from derivatives, der, der, derivatives, of coal, tar, and petroleum. In 2019, Carla and UW-Madison biochemist Professor John Belt showed how it could be made instead from a component in poplar trees using a well-known chemical reaction. Poplar biomass could be chemically converted to osmoleum in 3 steps. Now, Karen's team has improved the process for making paste petroleum, that word, PARACETAMOL, as well as other drugs, pigments, textiles, and biodegradable plastics with a cumulative market value of more than $1.5 billion. A profile of products that Carlin said could support dozens of small bio refineries feeding into larger hubs without saturating the market. The petroleum molecules is made of a 6-carbon benzene ring with 2 chemical groups attached. Poplar trees produce a similar component called p-hydrobisulfonate, PHB, in lignin, part of the cell wall that binds plant sugars together and provides structure. Lignin is full of valuable atomic components that replace many petrochemicals and provide beneficiaries with additional review streams to make plant-based fuels cost competitive. The challenge is breaking down the complex and irregular chain of molecules into useful components. It turns out PHB is relatively easy to break off with chemical treatment, but while the initial discovery showed it was chemically possible to turn it into petroleum. Carlin said that process didn't convert enough to the raw material into the final product. Research scientists value Tylenol discovered they that treating popular biomass with a different and typically cheaper method converted nearly all the GHG into another chemical that could be converted into paracetamol or a less valuable molecule with other applications. You can make dyes like black ink, polymers, which can be used in textiles or material applications converted into additives, additives or into stuff like that. She said, what he said, Carlin said, it's got a huge market and big value. Okay, that's money, but you're getting better because you're now in place. By recycling and the unreacted product back through the continuous reactor, the scientists successfully converted 90% of the raw material into paracetamol, which they extracted using a method that's cheaper than traditional purification techniques. Carlin said it should be possible to dial the yield up to 99%. The process is primarily water-based, trials of green solvents, and is continuous rather than a batch reaction, which makes it ideal for industry's application. As I'm chopping the tree up, it can find right into, it can feed right into the reactor. It fills out of the bio, Carlin said. So you're never stopping. As fast as the truck can connect to the hub. Okay. So that was the fossil fuel thing. Okay. So I looked at the fossil fuel, but I looked up tylenol. We'll get to that. Okay. Here's one here. Okay, because see who are the actual people? Who are actually okay? You have the pharmaceutical, which they make shit clothes. Okay, and each pill you take is always a side effect. You want to take the pills. That's up to you to take the pills, but be aware of what it is that you're taking. Now we're going to get to the part where Donald Trump said about Tylenol causing autism, ADD, ADHD, neurological disorders, especially like the more susceptible in the womb because everything like the stuff that goes into the mother's body, it goes through the stream and it using the cinnamon this here is Harvard CHJ School of Public Health. I'm live. Well, yes. Oh, shit. Where'd you go there? So, using acetaminophen during pregnancy may increase children's autism and ADHD risk. When children are exposed to acetaminophen, also known by the brand name tylenol or as paracetamol, during pregnancy, they may be more likely to develop neurodevelopment disorders, NDDS, including autism and ADHD, according to new study. The study was published August 14th in DMC Environmental Health. Adria Ecarelli, Dean of the Faculty at Harvard T.H.G. School of Public Health and Professor of Environmental Health, was senior author. The study was led by the Inching School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, and also included co-authors from other institutions. The researchers analyzed results from 46 previous studies worldwide that investigated the potential link between urinary acetaminophen used and subsequent NDDs in children, neurological disorders, development disorders. The research used the navigation guide systematic review methodology, a gold standard framework for synthesizing and evaluating environmental health data. I know somebody who worked in, like, measured the airflow in the environment. I believe that's what he did, which enabled them to conduct a rigorous, comprehensive analysis that supported evidence on an association between acetaminophen exposure during pregnancy and increased incidence of NDDS. See, the FDA or what have you, don't they go by the percentage of what is in something, right? Do they do the studies? As far as just doctors saying, no. Doctors know fuck all about the medicines that they give you. They just know what they're told. And then they tell you go read the ingredients and go read the side effects. And they expect you to know. The research noted that while steps should be taken to limit acetaminophen use, the drug is important for treating pain and fever during pregnancy, which can also harm the developing fetus. And I told you they put petroleum on petroleum, fossil fuels, much like, what was it I said? Coal, tar, and petroleum, or petrol. Developing fetus. High fever can raise risk of a neural tubal defect and premature birth. I would recommend judicious acetaminophen use, lowest effective dose, shortest duration under medical guidance. There are some people who doctors prescribe them to take tylenol a certain amount of times a day, every day. And I've seen people where it was recommended that you take it every day. We recommend penicillin use lowest effective doses, shortest duration under medical guidance, tailored to individual risk benefits assessments rather than a broad limitation, they wrote. Okay? In late September, the Food and Drug Administration announced it would issue a letter to clinicians urging them to be cautious about the use of acetaminophen in pregnancy. Barcarelli, Baccarelli, said he had discussed his study with Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy, so that's where it would have been relayed, and he took the steps. And Donald Trump had to be the one to relay it. In the week leading up to that announcement, and provided the White House team with a statement noting his research found evidence of an association between potential exposure to acetaminophen and neurodevelopmental disorders. That association is strongest when acetaminophen is taken for 4 weeks or longer. Becquerel said. The statement continued. Further research is needed to confirm the association and determine casualty. But based on existing evidence, I believe that caution about acetaminophen used during pregnancy, especially heavy or prolonged use, is warranted. He notes in the competing interest section of the research paper that he has served as an expert witness for plaintiffs in a case involving potential links between acetaminophen use during pregnancy and neurodevelopment disorders. The story is updated on September 23rd. Evaluation of the evidence on acetaminophen use, neurodevelopment disorders using the navigation guide methodology that's formally up. And then read the Mount Sinai and press release about the study. So let's go in. We're the first one. Evaluation, environmental health. Terus kamore kaya ito hikimala kaya BMC, Virus for Nature, Environmental Health. So when people, okay, there are things that maybe Robert Kennedy don't know. Okay. But if it comes to the environmental stuff. Wouldn't he know a little bit more? You'll say, well, that's a pharmaceutical. Coal tar and petrol. Is that not environmental? Wouldn't you claim, like, whether it's environmental or there, it's causing an environmental problem. It's not something that you could go to a doctor and say medical malpractice because it's an over-the-counter drug. So evaluation of the evidence and acetaminophen use and neural development disorders using the navigation guide methodology. So you'll use background methods, data, quality assessment, okay, results, and study characteristics from yes. Well, that's weird. Discovery of Neptune. Nice. We conducted a systematic PubMed search of the literature on February 2nd to 25th, 2025, to identify original papers on the relation between ADHD, ASD, NDDS, and potential exposure, identifying or exposure to acetaminophen observational studies and model analysis. PubMed was selected as the primary database for its comprehensive coverage of biomedical and environmental health literature, aligning with the studies focused on potential exposure and neurodevelopment disorders. To ensure completedness, supplementary searches were conducted in ISI Web and of Science and Global Scholar using identical keyword strategies, e.g., ADHD and acetaminophen. These confirmed that in conclusion of all relative studies with no additional eligible studies identified beyond those captured in PubMed to guide study selection. We defined this research question using a population exposure comparison outcome PECO framework. Population, offspring of pregnant women, assessed for neurodevelopment outcomes. Exposure potential. Okay, these are the abstracts. Okay, so this is the stuff they were looking for. Offspring assessed, okay, exposure, prenatal acetaminophen cases, exposure measured via materials, self-report, biomarkers, and medical records. Comparator offspring of pregnant women not exposed to acetaminophen were exposed to alternative allergies or analalgies. Analalgics. Can't pronounce it. Look it up. Outcome, neurodevelopment disorders including ADHD, ASD, or related symptoms, diagnosed or assessed in childhood. Eligible studies were originally, this is a long one. Okay, okay. So what they found is acetaminophen and ADHD. We used the search term ADHD and acetaminophen using additional search terms such as an attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, pacing or tylenol. Did not identify any additional results. A total of 96 papers were identified. PubMed, and I looked up PubMed papers and two additional. So we'll go to their findings, okay? Because these are what they're testing. Because this is a long paper. Let's go. Results. Oh, shit. Just give me 1 second. I know people don't want to hear this because, we never want somebody we don't like to be right, even if it's partially. Most people, they look at Donald Trump like he has 100 hits, but I actually looked into other stuff that Donald Trump said, and that sent me down a whole other rabbit hole because, I'll tell you right now, a lot of things that Donald Trump says that don't make sense. There are key words there, the ones that, you make fun of the word, but he says it like something different in its place. That's him telling you something. It's much like talking in parables or riddles. Okay? Subliminal, yeah, that word. Subliminal messages. Right? We evaluated the quality of 20 studies of the association between prenatal acetaminophen use as and risk of ADD in ADHD in children and rate each study in terms of the bio. Okay, oh, this is okay. This is how they measure it. Conclusions. Our analysts demonstrated evidence consistent with an association between exposure to acetaminophen during pregnancy and offspring with NDDs, including ASD and ADHD, through observational limitations preclude definite causation. The analysts using the navigation guide methodology evidence for several population studies and supports the association between prenatal acetaminophen exposure and increased NDD incidence, including ADHD, ASD, and other NDDs. Well, population level trends in NDDs. Now you think of it, okay, let's go and see like this is. I'm spelling pretty poorly right now. So I just asked, when did cases of autism increase? Okay, in 1955 was when Tylenol was brought out. Okay, the increase in autism cases has been significant over the past decades. In the 70s, autism was considered a rare condition with prevalence estimates around 4 5 cases per 10,000 children. The introduction of the S or DSM dash, I don't know if it's III or dash, might be represent clearly, in 1980 marked a turning point as it provided a formal diagnosis of autism, leading to more accurate assessments. So in the 70s, it was 4 or 5 cases per 10,000. Okay? The introduction. By 2000, the CDC reported 1 in 150 children were diagnosed with autism, a significant increase from previous estimates. What has changed? Like, more and more people are taking Tylenol, acetaminophen, because acetaminophen is probably the same in Tylenol. Let's see, has coal tar petrol biofuel, like and aren't those things that say it'll also make you sterile, like neurological disorders. Kelatopriya. So from 1970s to 2000, okay, so 30 years, it went from 4 and 5 cases out of 10,000 children to 1 in 150 children in 30 years. There's more and more pills being pushed down people's throats because you're told, take it for this, take it for that, and you think all this shit is not in those pills. They want you, like, people forgot about the natural remedies because a pill was easier to fucking pop the pill, drink your water, or hey, wait, some pills you have to take on an empty stomach, and you got to wait so long before you eat. Some you got to take on a full stomach, and some you got to take every 6 hours, so you get such a fucking alarm to get up and take it. Wow, That's quite the cycle. I stopped taking those. I haven't last time I took a pill was about 3 years ago, and that was one pill, and I took that when I went to the hospital, and they were getting my anxiety down because something was going on. And let me tell you, I felt like fucking shit when I woke up. They tried to give me a prescription, I took a prescription. I'm not telling you not to take it. If you want to take a pill, that's entirely up to yourself. But you might want to know what it is you're taking and what it can cause. And then don't go if you take it and then you say, oh, well, you end up with this wrong with you, you end up with that wrong with you, or this ends up happening to your child because you took that. Don't say people didn't warn you about it. It may not be the people you want to hear it from, but the ones you're expecting to hear it from, do you really fucking think they're going to tell you the truth on it, especially if they're making $130 million profit? And then whatever profit they make, and then certain, like the profit they make off of the problems that it causes. I don't like Donald Trump much, but like I said before, even if it was my enemy and I felt they were right about something, I'd stand up for them. Over the past 20 years, autism diagnoses have increased by about 300%, with the CDC reporting one in 150 8-year-olds diagnosed in 2023. The DSM-V in 2013 further extended the diagnostic criteria, allowing for a broader understanding of autism, contributing to the increase in diagnosis. Okay, environmental things causes autism, ADHD, because it messes with the body as a whole, whether it's outside of you or inside of you, because eventually the environmental problem outside of you enters through the body, through skin, air, ingestion, bloodstream. Hey, you don't have to be a doctor or a scientist to know that. What people really need to do is say, fuck the pharmaceutical that's making billions. And we need to go back and learn how to make things properly and teach one another how to do it. That way, that stuff is on the market. But you probably many years down the road, and all of it switching over, because there's going to be people that will say, "Oh no, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't work," because you are of the mental mentality of believing that a synthetic drug is your answer to your body. It's a disruption. So ask yourself, would the FDA or doctors making, like people making the call to off the Tylenol. Really think they're going to be fucking honest with you. And right now, different parts of the news really wants to make Donald Trump look like a fucking moron. But it doesn't matter what side you're on. Donald Trump is sick, but I think he still does have some understanding there. And I know what is said to be like what he did, and I've seen stuff, but you have to put that aside right for at those parts because people will say, "Well, I'm not going to believe a pedophile." This is not a pedophile. This is who you're seeking the answers from, but because it's not on your mainstream fucking media and it's not the FDA or one of these like bot doctors telling you. There are times that I've had headaches so bad and just tuck my foot at, or I just go like this and kind of find out where the headache is coming from and then push it. It's like a pressure. Once you get that pressure point, you actually feel the release. Like right now, where I'm pushing here, it's like that's a pressure, that's a point that's actually helping my neck because it's your brain where the sensor heat sensors are. And tylenol shuts that brain and those drugs shut that down. I'll tell you, my back pain, how I got over that a lot of the time was when I had that back pain, I leaned into it and then I took it just a little smidgen further and I held it until it released itself. Didn't take long because you weren't in that pain because you had yourself feel something more painful. So the original just, hey, this is how I healed. And like I said, it wasn't from pills. Let me tell you, when I was detoxing, it wasn't fucking fun either. I was on the floor and everything. I was down, like trying to ground. And there were nights when, I ended up with no heat and I was fucking freezing. And I wouldn't go in the house because I wasn't leaving my cat out in the camper. Because my cat at that time wasn't allowed in the house. So I was going through the withdrawals. Hey, God, source, spirit, creator, universe, what have you, however you refer, or nobody at all, your spirit is going to put yourself through hell when it's happening. And reflects a growing awareness and recognition of autism spectrum disorder, leading to more accurate diagnosis and increased public understanding. You're not understanding because they won't allow that out into the public. Because this is what should be used. Not them mocking Donald Trump and saying and trying to make him look like a fucking certain things, yeah, he does, like I said, he does look like a moron. Well, see, this is what I say. Like before people say what they say about somebody else and say it's conspiracy, or say, "Oh, well, they're a fucking moron, an idiot." I'm going to ask you: do you take the time to do the research? We're doing this together. We're going down the rabbit hole together. So when I find something that's like, for me to say, well, shut my mouth. But this is saying that he may not be bringing it forward, but he's bringing it forward. So of course, big pharmaceutical companies are going to say that, and they're going to try hard to make you look like that. Like I heard the thing where Donald Trump said, like, he wanted to find God. Well, when's your chance to fucking find God? But I'm going to ask you, what God are you looking for? Because the God you're looking for, I hope you're doing the right thing for the people who want to live in the place. Autism rates over the last 50 years, tracking the rise in diagnosis and understanding neurology. See, they want to keep you in the mainstream of the normal. They don't want you to go outside of that, of the unknown, because maybe it's usually the unknown where the real is. And this was Neurolaunch editorial team, August 10th, 2025. And I do know that there are fake websites out there, but this makes more fucking sense than listening to the FDA or any random doctor say they would. You know, why do you think there's so many doctors as people? Because it's profit. How many that for every new prescription, new to the market prescription drug, the doctors get an incentive every time they prescribe it. Why do you think all of a sudden new drug comes out and doctors are pushing it, pushing it, pushing it, pushing it? They even advertise antidepressants on television. Say, go ask your doctor about it. That's not pill pushing or nothing, is it? And they'll even put on meditative music. Gli puriti yesterday to Korea. Gli my channel's not for everyone. You like me, hate me, love me, loathe me. Make you laugh, make you cry, piss you off, you want to punch me, slap me upside the head, and gang up on me. You can come at me energetically, but I say, let me see my When a parent notices their child or toddler lining up tools instead of playing with them and avoiding eye contact going peekaboo, they joined millions of families navigating and diagnosing that was visual unknown 50 years ago, but now affects 1 in every 36 children. But instead of stopping what creates the problem, they'll put your child in a classroom. The teacher will basically pretty much demand, the principal and the teacher will demand that your child go on ADHD medication or other medications for other disorders. And then you produce more money because you hire someone else to come in and look after that student because the teacher is not taught how because they're always treated differently. But see, if you would get to the bottom of the root of the problem, then you wouldn't have that fucking problem, would you? But oh wait, in the educational system, there's always going to be somebody that can abuse, right? You know, they told me that I had to put my son on ADHD medication. Once he met put him on it, he just completely like just like you know, I did have him on it once briefly because I observed him and when he told me no, it was no. Same with my nephew, and I wasn't doing them a disservice either. I was doing them a service. People say your children can focus more. Are they focused? Is it that like when you're focusing, let's see, if you take a child that doesn't have ADHD, they're just extremely hyper, which most children are, because they're children, and their energy levels are much higher. They're running at a faster rate. Their bodies are moving faster than adults. So they're not going to want to sit still because everything is, they're constantly observing. It's not that ADHD is a gift. ADD is a gift when you understand. I told my ex-husband, like he always says, going to be ADD. It's like, no, you're using that term, that label as a crutch because you don't understand the real fucking thing, the real meaning of it, the real gift of it. And people say, well, I didn't realize get them all over the place. Yes. But that's where you have to learn how to sell it yourself. I told my Alex says, maybe you can't remember, maybe how about you get under control? You're afraid of. And when you start doing it, it is a lot easier. But whenever I'd say that, oh, there's no doubt that I'm ADHD, autistic, or anything like that. There's no doubt. It's because you're in a physical body, but your spirit is all over the place, so your physical body is trying to catch up with it everywhere it goes. So it's like asking yourself, why are you trying to be in all these places? Because your spirit just when I told like you do it in DD, dude, just because I wasn't diagnosed with DD doesn't mean that I don't have it. It's astral dimensional development. Astral is a spirit. So it affects 1 in every 36 children. The startling statistic represents a dramatic shift in our understanding and recognition of autism spectrum disorder over the past half century. But how do we get here? How did we get here? Let's embark on a journey through time and unravel the complex tapestry of autism traits from the shadowy corners of the 1970s to the bright spotlight of today's awareness. See, this stuff is not readily available to people, and when they go to get help, it's like pulling fucking teeth, which pulling teeth is a lot fucking easier because they freeze it and they use it. This is like one of those wisdom teeth that you just can't fucking get out, and it's like, you keep grinding, but and they keep stalling. It's like, super. Take your lip service and fucking do it. But I know that wasn't what I said, what was said. But that's what I'm saying. Because I could feel that. The story of autism prevalence is not just a tale of numbers. It's a narrative of evolving understanding, scientific breakthroughs, and societal change. You know what needs to happen? Because most people have experienced the problem and it left a side effect that develops into what the people really need to be doing is coming together in a class action lawsuit that they have pharmaceutical companies. Not looking at it because we want money. It's the principle of the lies. They're deliberate, and they lie by omission. But most times they do put it in your face. You just don't understand the jargon, or you have to go dig it like this. You have to pull out the right question to get the answer that you're searching for. Because if you don't use that the right question, it's only going to give you what it thinks you're asking for, or head down the mainstream narrative. Go off the beaten path. You might find something new. You might run into a little bit of poison ivy along the way. But hey, maybe along that way you'll find some aloe vera and rub it on the poison. The story of hope. The story of autism's prevalence is not just a tale of numbers. It's a narrative of evolving understanding, scientific breakthroughs, and societal change. It's a story that touches the lives of countless families, educators, and healthcare professionals. As we dive into this exploration, we'll discover that the timeline of autism from early observations to middle modern understanding is far more intricate than we might have imagined. So if you have ADHD or you're autistic or what have you, this would be, this is stuff you should be actually sitting with and realizing, how it connects with the use of medications, not just tylenol. I mean, you think that this is tylenol, ibuprofen. What does it affect? It affects your liver. What is your liver used for? Your liver is your filter. It's like taking water and put it through a filter so all the dangerous particles gets transmuted, right? So if you're taking Tylenol and ibuprofen or anything and the stuff that affects the liver, well, how again does that make sense? People won't want to watch my show because, I'm a little blunt. I never liked taking medication, so I took it a little bit less than good, but now my abs are, holy shit, man. The ibuprofen that I was popping in the run of the day, like I think I told my doctor that it was more than 7,000 milligrams a day. That wasn't including the Tylenol free, the Naproxen, the Advil, Keppra, everything. Hydromorphone, gabapentin. Those were the different medications that was on that was had to help with neurologic disorders and pain and stuff. But it was causing more problems for me than the problems I had. May have been, temporarily, but once it wore off, it was back again. So even before the next dose, even before, it was just like constant. It's like fucking candy. So that's why I say, excuse me, I was detoxing. And like my body was just like, like, dude, it was trying to just, it was like, it was just trying to jump out of itself because it couldn't handle that pain anymore. So it was in my trailer, I was like, I would be screaming and everything. And then I hear my mom and man and other people around saying, "We're gonna hold her, Sandra, hold her, dear. It's okay, just sit back and let it go." But you know, they'll tell you go take a pill for that. Right? Wouldn't that defeat the purpose? Or should I go to a doctor so that they can say, "No, I'm happy with where you are"? Someone who a doctor did that to them because they wanted to get off of it without it because it was causing problems for them medically. And the doctor told them, "No, I'm happy with where you are." It damn near killed them. So this stuff you put in your body, it doesn't matter if it's just Tylenol, that's just a piece of it. But then you'll blame God. Oh, God's not going to put the pill in you. God's not the one ignoring the side effects, ignoring what's in the stuff. God's not the one looking for a quick fix with regards to something that could have been prevented had this stuff not been something that was pushed. You talk about drug dealers, people selling marijuana, and I know that there's pharmaceutical drugs out there how the fuck do you think they got them? But hey, who was the drug pushers? Say, oh, well, marijuana, what it does to people. Well, like any medication, if you're using, say you're using it as that, then I guess you should be using it properly. But it's natural medicine, so they start modifying, and then they start adding different chemicals. Then it becomes just pharmaceuticals. When your government has its hand in it, your government also becomes a but don't they throw you away? And they're the same ones, along with the news, saying that Donald Trump is spreading misinformation. When, as a reporter, maybe you should have kept your trap fucking shut and actually done the research yourself and then ask those questions. Say, hey, you know, Well, you're saying this that go ahead, but it says here in this study. No, wait, the ones that say they don't question. They just go with the funnest story that's going to create the most chaos or you ain't fucking truth seekers. You are entertainment providers because you look for ratings and you don't care how you and chaos and negativity. That's usually what gets people on the edge of their seats, right? That's entertainment. So mind blowing. But people say this stuff is happening around the world only because of people like that. That take a pill before you go to work all day. Take a pill in the middle of the day. Come home, have your pill that's all the time. And oh wait, don't forget to take it before you go to bed. Get up the next day, do the same thing over again. And then wonder why you're on or wonder like if you're taking and you're pregnant or you're giving this stuff to your children. You're gonna do what you want because like I said, I'm not a doctor, but I do have common sense. Pharmaceuticals have money involved. Money in money. And if you're unwell, you're your doctor's prophet. Because if they really didn't want you coming back, they would actually be getting to the root of what's causing it, not handing you something back. You got the flu. Oh, here, take this pill. Or here, go get this over the counter or this on the like this at the pharmacy. Okay, okay, okay. Got a cough. Oh, go get some cough syrup or balls with all this other shit in it instead of drinking tea with lemon. Tea, they make tea that's actually lemon and honey. So you don't have to go buy the lemon and you don't have to buy the honey. But it's better if you have the lemon tea. There's your message. You know, when I was taking all that stuff, I don't know how I didn't kill my liver. And I even told my psychiatrist, it was my psychiatrist, I said, how's your ship go? I told him, what said about it? Oh, well, you shouldn't do that. No fucking duh. But right now, that's the only thing that's working because whatever it is you're doing, sure to fuck ain't helping none. So please excuse me if I have no respect or appreciation. There's few doctors that I've met, but I have met good. So I'm not saying it all. I went to one doctor, and I couldn't believe it. You're a professional, dude. You need to put it out, and I do call you dude because it's like a pimple on a horse's ass. Like, you're sitting here. What are you in your Honda Civic? Is it? Seriously. But the good thing about him was that he wasn't a pill pusher. But I don't believe he even wanted to be at his job. Big paycheck. Went to one doctor, hey, his license got suspended because, he was fucking up documents. So do I really want ones like that sliding on my fucking health? But people say, well, you better not say that. They might need the help and they won't be there. But I haven't been there yet. So, I guess I wouldn't even be there, right? So every time you go to where to go, you have mental health issues, even though your mental health issues are caused from a physical health problem. So you just skip. Just go through. Go take this pill. You got to go on an antidepressant. Here, let me get it on the pad. We'll look at you today, try to figure out, we'll try to figure out what it is, and then we'll treat it. And if that don't work, come back with me, and we'll try something else. So here, I'll give you this. Here, take this for 7 days. 4 times a day. And get back and see me in a week and let me know how it's going. So you go home, you take that pill. Half the time, you don't even know what you're taking a fucking pill for because they just write the prescription and say, you're going to take this. How is that being a doctor again? I'm not mocking you. I'm actually legitimately, legitimately asking. Get in there. Hey, when Biden was in, they were saying shit about Biden. When Trump's in, they're saying shit about Trump. So, the the the, the news mainly goes with who they feel they can get the most across or make it look more like a fool. People may not believe this. People say we're in business time, and not realize that, he made the visit. And he said, which one? He's going to get a little off, but, or, what is actual witchcraft? You say spells and what have you. The actual witchcraft of the potions are actually the pills and medicine that you put in your mouth and you drink into. Not something made from herbal herbs and teas and what have you, natural stuff where they put charcoal, tar, and petrol in. Same, this will help. Oh, wait, talking about turn it into plastic mold. But then there's a more natural way, and that's the sulfur tree. They'll say, well, then you're a young tree. Probably uses less trees, much more environmentally safe environment and your environment, internally and externally. But hey, would you like a glass of water to go with that pill? Oh, wait a minute, this one's carbon. I use CBD, and other tests have been proven that CBD will help toddlers that have been in constant seizure disorders, and it will help them to help children, help toddlers. Wait, they say that the study's not over? No, they just don't want to use it. Dice por ejemplo, like with wars and stuff like that, not but with Putin when he says about America, Black and North America have a lot of obese people because of the food we're fed, the chemicals we put in our bodies, the pharmaceuticals that we call. Is that what you call an American dream? Because that's an American dream. May not be for the ones who are still in that part because I know it's not easy to get out of it. But sometimes you just gotta take it forward. Just say what I'm not saying go do it. I'm saying what I did because I got tired of listening to the doctors, so I was taking my own chances. You got to look at how long you've been taking something. I started when I started taking it, my cup because I weaned myself down from that, and then the last week I just said no. So I have to ask you, when you heard that on the news, with Donald Trump saying tylenol cause autism, ADHD, ADD, the infants, is did you run? Did you say it was a fucking lie? Or did you actually look to see if what he said was true? Did you listen to this? So my question is, why did everybody go into this stuff so blind? Why did we go into it so blind? Because I would mess up for us all the way. And I literally saw the way. And but fuck, not only did I see it, but I experienced it because it was like it exploded out, but came in and exploded out. It was like whoosh in here, but when it was like when I died in 2019, just right around the first day of winter. That's when I was dying. Like everything just felt like I was trying to leave, and I was like trying to bring it all back. And I mean, I was suffocating, and I was spitting up blood. And I mean, I was throwing up acid inside of the fluid that was so thick that I could blow bubbles with it, like I was blowing a bubble with bubble gum, and it was clear and it crystal. Laying on my couch, because I could feel myself running in the shop before, and just laying on the couch, and I just like I couldn't move, and I just slept, and I feel like, and then it closer, and then it was like it was 3 at 6, and then 9, and then it was just one massive. And then the night of the sleeping in 2020, it was like a flash of light, like a lightning bolt that changed. It was almost like a reactor, like a chain lightning. And it hit me like, and I don't know how I didn't die that night, but I did go pretty fucking catatonic afterwards. And after that, that's when I started to, that's when I started physically, mentally, and emotionally, and spiritually. I know people say they don't like the word spiritual. No, it wasn't religious, but I was sticking to what I was doing, which almost all that. And it's like, no, that was the fall of 2020. I ended up in a psychiatric unit in 2021 because of what I was experiencing. I felt like I was a fucking person. I mean, I was like, the door was like something. I was going after all me. So, hey, I kind of signed myself into psychiatric unit because, I thought I was going ape shit, that shit crazy. And I come out of there, still taking pills. And I moved in my trailer in second week of May 2020. sit on my chair. Absolutely. I walked every day, 3, 4 times a day for a couple hours at a time, just even sitting at the train tracks, calling to the sky and telling the system, hey, it was like I was going through all of my spirits right back to when the dinosaurs, like the big, like when the light, when the flash, and the red. I listened to frequencies. I sang karaoke to my heart was content. I listened to the radio, talked to the spirit, different people from his in spirit that told me their story. But I get off the pills and stuff, so you should go over to drugs. Oh yeah, because I took psychiatric drugs before so that's and yeah, I was at work and I fell asleep. I was into cartridges at the airport as a cleaner, and I went to the bathroom and I sat on the toilet and I fell asleep. My eyes started blinking uncontrollably, and my tongue kept like going, like it was just all weird, and I did not feel. But hey, I still just took peas and I still kept taking them. But less than a year later, maximum a year later, I said, "Fuck that," and I got better. Well, I can't say like it's not about getting better because it was a spiritual awakening that I had experienced, and it was another one that came really quick after I got the pills cleaned out of my body. Like when I was walking, like man, every crab apple tree that I came to after I ate one crab apple, I'd go up further and I'd see and I'd grab another one. So let me tell you, I was going a lot. No, not a lot. It was every morning I'd wake up and I'd have that really good movement, and it was just detoxing everything out of my body. And then they went and they cut down all the crab apple trees. And I got off of the experiences I was having. That when you go through a detox, you will have what appears to be hallucinations that you're starting to wake up, you're starting to see on the day because the pills were keeping it out of sight. You know. But my body started feeling much better. I felt light. my dark work, but that was another thing that sparked that part because, I really like certain things on my face and, hey, but I did go back to taking the pill because I turned to spirit. I turned to my ancestors. I turned to my mom's spirit, and I listened to I was getting certain like where it shut you down. And it was that part of stand up for yourself. Just because it's there, you can't do it. You need it. To think you're crazy. You lose people. If you lose people, what happened to begin with? So that's what I say. Like you were asked, you see that on the news, if Donald Trump saying that, did you laugh or make fun of him? Or did you look into what he was saying? Because as I just got told, it's like I could feel someone in the room watching, trying to energetically get me here. Yuko isinakaishikua. Yarapuri sikinakaishikua. That's what it is. So it's like, hey, people will look at me like I have a hundred heads, like I'm schizophrenic, psychotic, psychosis, and you try to put every fucking label on me, but nothing will be or that's me. That's your label, Mama, because I'm explaining to people that you're well, two words. It's spirit. So what people are taking heavy medication and then wondering what it's like I know when things happen. when I'm being attacked or interference because I feel it. I thought it said emotional Henry. Someone told me, how do you do it, kid? Okay, that's fine, but I'm happy doing it because I know I'm about to get to be me. It was my experiences that helped me to heal more people in ways that was depending on them to give me the answers that I needed to find. So I'm not telling you go off your medication, but I am saying know what you're taking. So oh, the hell no. It was hair or a piece of wood or something. It is still best to be honest and true, to make the most of what we have, to be happy with simple pleasures, and to be cheerful and happy when things go wrong. Okay, that last part there, I have to say that does not fit with the rest. And why I say it does not fit with the rest, because it's telling you to be happy when things go wrong. So that's like saying, okay, settle with something that doesn't work and be happy. That's what that means to me. So it takes a positive and switches it into a negative. I know people say like when things go wrong, you're supposed to just go, no, 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 no. Well, that's like, you know, sometimes there are things that, you just have to do because that thinking, like going around saying that everything's okay when you woke up and you feel it's wrong, you're lying to yourself, but only to appease other people. Quelle tu esci alla fine in calm water, every ship has a good captain. almost anybody can be a coach in some way. It takes a really good practice to be able to navigate through storms. Because don't they always say, "Well, the captain going down the ship, captain's limit doors the storm." That would have the fruit must climb the tree. Okay, so the fruit represents the goal, and you have to go through the levels to get to that fruit, to get to that goal. It's a long Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. Intuition. Using your intuition as you walk through the turbulence. Hold on, because I'm trying to like put it and see how much like I am. Be sure you put your feet in the right place, then stand firm. So put yourself in a position where you're going to evolve and stand firmly with your, it's like with your authentic, who you seek. So stand firm. Okay, it's like, okay, let's say you're going through a tunnel, and at the end of the tunnel, there's like a full circle, right? But there's traps along the way. So you use your intuition with regards to like finding the right steps. And then you, so at the end, just before you go in, there'll be like that test. And you stand firm on your knowing. Get that last there, part of believing in yourself. Siapa tayo? Muli na magaan. Siya kaya one filled with joy preaches without preaching. One filled with joy preaches without preaching. So being a testimony. I think the elephant in the room. There's an elephant in the room. It is a large and squatting. So it is hard to get around it. Oh, sorry, large and squatting. So it is hard to get around it. Yet we squeeze by with how are you? And I am fine. And a thousand other forms of trivial chatter. That there means you just go through the emotion, you go through the motions instead of speaking up about what's on your mind or how you're feeling. Aerodynamically, the bumblebee should not fly. Too much body weight, too little wingspan, but it does. And the reason why it does that is because of its frequency and the vibration that it stimulates at. You know, when you feel that buzzing feeling in your body, well, think of the bee having that. So it's the vibration, it's the movement of your energy. So it's much like you're told you can't self heal, but by changing the vibration and frequency within yourself, within your own being, you know, you say, I got no energy, I got no energy. So you have to bring that up. And that is how it reflects. You're the other week, a bee stung, like a bee was here and I didn't know it was a bee, and I like felt something that was a little like almost a little stick type thing. Like I went like that and I threw it because it felt weird. And I looked down at the freaking bee, but it stung me on my finger too. So it stung me on my side. That was the first time. And I think it's because when I went, I felt it on there and I went to grab it, so and it stung me, but it stung me three times, two here and then one up here. And it did take a little bit of a while. It got right around there, but you know, I just started moving around. You know, about the sort of talking to people because I knew, you know, how I can fly them, but I talked to them for a while. That's a handful for him. Can't put the toothpaste in the tube. You can't take that. You can't take back what you say, but you can actually look further to see if there was something you missed. Get up at this and if a man, I get this, if a man is a street sweeper, he should sweep the street, even as much largo. Oh, Michelangelo painted. I was breaking up the word wrong. See? Yo le tocó hicimos toda eso, lo que hay. Painted it, or Beethoven composed music, or Shakespeare wrote poetry. He should sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will praise to say he lived a great street sweeper who did his job well. Okay, okay, they have like Michelangelo, Beethoven, Shakespeare, which are all wealthy people, and it's compared to a street sweeper, which is street sweeper is like a custodian who did everything like that. The other three entertain Michelangelo, Beethoven, and Shakespeare. They do it through music. They're wealthy. The street sweeper is usually poor and least likely to be known. An everyday person represents the street sweeper. A street sweeper, shit ass. Okay. Now, okay, I'm gonna break this down. With regards to street sweeper, Michelangelo, Beethoven, and Shakespeare, and street sweeper who did this job, guy lived a great life, sweeper's life. Okay, Michelangelo didn't have children. Beethoven didn't have children. Okay, a street sweeper is most likely to have children because they're usually a family person. Shakespeare and his wife had three children. What point am I getting at now? I guess you're not letting me go. Yeah, okay. Dice, vete como necesito para inscribirme. Okay, ahorita ay musea, eso no conta eso no way time. And thank you, Martin Luther King Jr. Buenísimo, buenísimo tayo. We cherish our friends not for their ability to amuse us, but for ours to amuse them. Sure. We cherish our friends not for their ability to amuse us. I know I got this. This here one is thinking that other people are our entertainment. right there. Don't look at it. Okay, so it's like an actor. Okay. People idolize these people, okay, and you're right into their lives, right? So it's much like some people feel like an actor or a celebrity is and watching you being amused by this. You go to like those places where they have those Disney Disney World and Universal flags, places like that where they have what's perceived as a, you go there wanting them to amuse you, not knowing what's going on behind their closed doors. That's the part where we believe we're watching them, but at the same time they're watching us. Oh, 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 I heard crap. Well, we already know that. Hana sin no motion like a would you like me to do a little dance for you? Oh wait, no, that's not a little dance. That's a, it's like when you watch Mad TV and you have that. Oh man, I don't know what. Like I don't know what is wrong with him, but he's an adult. He's the adult man steward. Like it's attention, and then so I don't know why I went to that, but I just like just the way he did it, and his character with his mom, and all I'm saying, that character of the mom, wow, I'm glad we don't see like, but what it was showing is, I believe it was mocking grown men living at home and still having their mornings with her. That's it. See which way that, the if you wait till the wind and the weather are just right, you will never plant anything and never harvest anything. Okay. If you wait till the wind and the weather are just right. Okay, we'll take for an instant. Okay, marry or like couples who want to become couple, okay? And you keep figuring you're gonna you keep feeling like you don't have money, and it's being able to understand. Okay, how do I put this? If you keep telling yourself now is not the right time, ask yourself first off, why is it that you really feel like it's not the right time? See what you can do about it. But sometimes you have to take that leap of faith because from that, you may never get the opportunity to do. Time is never right. See, I had some back years ago, and they were talking to me about this. They said they weren't having children, but they could feel that they had a little bit of doubt of whether or not. So I, you know, just when you make the decision of not having children, ask yourself how much you like, because if you're having doubts, there's something holding you from not, you're unsure. But if you're unsure, you have to make sure because if you miss that opportunity, things always come around, they say, but it's not always in the same way. So taking that leap of faith into the unknown, because if you don't take a leap of faith, you're holding yourself back from greater possibilities. It's like that video that I posted on TikTok and all of me where I come on and I had that funny face and I smiled. When I smiled, it was like I was seeing that face. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the step first. And if you take that first step and you fall, you get back up again. Take that first step, say you fall, you step back, or you see that there. So you learn to navigate through it. Yourself. Yeah. Emotional agregated with the यार għala tara essere point. Swing hard in case they throw the ball where you're swinging. So swing hard. Swing, swing hard in case they throw the ball where you're swinging. Okay, so visualize. Speak your truth because there is going to come a time when the right person is going to hear you. Because anyone can see you. Most people struggle to hear. You tend to tune things out more for hearing than you do for vision. Noise is more apt to shock you and startle you because before something startling happens, you usually hear the news first, right? Just the way anything is shaded. Diamonds are nothing more than chunks of coal that stuck to the jaw. Okay, coal represents fuel. Diamonds are nothing more. It says then hunks of coal, but it's not hunks of coal that's stuck to the jaw. It is a force of the fire that sparks the light. Oh crap! Right? Yeah, I know how I look. Yeah, it's like turísimo quería estar actually, yeah. Como tú dices, quitar que turismo. My channel's spirit to spirit. So if people take offense to this, then my channel's not for you and you don't understand that I'm spirit to spirit. So if you're experiencing things from this, then you are connected to those spirits. That was like a booster. I'm like, Still at the esa. Si me escucho la variante. Tough times never last, but tough people. So with that being said, I'm sending all this love, light, many blessings and support for very difficult. Anyone and everyone who wants to go into this so be thankful, grateful, supportive of yourself, be authentic self, truth yourself, and kind to yourself. Know who you are. because you can get through the tough times. Just keep taking